The burning questions are of credibility, transparency, and accountability in higher judiciary. Where did that large stash of cash come from? Where is that stash now? How did it disappear? How much is it? And what transpired between the night of the fire on the 14th of March and facts appearing in public domain a week later? What explains the discrepancy in the statement made by Justice Verma and the security detail at his house? Was the storeroom locked or kept unlocked? There are many questions we are seeking answers to. And joining me on this special broadcast are some of the best legal minds in our country and a former top cop, KV Dhananjay, Diljit Singh Ahluwalia. They join us to shed light on the legal aspect of investigations practiced at the Supreme Court. Dr. Vikram Singh is former DGP, will talk to us about the probe ahead. And Dr. Vikram Singh, let me begin by asking you, is it that police constable with his mobile phone who let the cat out of the bag, recording it on his mobile camera saying, Mahatma Gandhi jal rahe hai, or words to that effect, is that clinching evidence of burning currency at Justice Verma's residence? Does that actually show that a cover-up now is no longer possible?
Good evening, gentlemen. May I submit with the greatest of respect to all the institutions that what began on 14th of March, the holy day in all probability, has turned out to be some kind of such an embarrassment. Now, first it was currency notes found, all the leading daily news published that. Then the fire service chief says, no, nothing, no currency was recovered. Then there was a mode of denial. Then the transfer happened. Then the inquiry commission came that he was transferred. The transfer not because of the recovery of currency, but at the end of the day, something came out. And I knew that something like this is bound to happen because the police and the fire service department, when they go for such incidents, there is not only a documented record, but also the police personnel do make a video clipping. And that video I predicted yesterday, that this is likely to come out and it's going to be such an embarrassment. It's better that you go the right way, prove and conduct the inquiry in an appropriate manner. Now that the typical police lingo, dekho ji, Mahatma Gandhi jal rahe hain, and that is indicative, and that of course has become viral now, it will be very difficult to, of course, the actual provision is that a forensic evaluation of that video clip will be done, and that must be done because it is such a sensitive matter. Then the origin of that video clip, why did it surface late last night and why not earlier?
Okay.
Why did the Delhi Fire Service chief say no currency was recovered or burned, then to say no comments, and then at the end of the day, you have egg on the face of very many people?
There is egg on the face of several people, but in the interest of transparency, the Delhi fire chief subsequently was quoted saying that he was misquoted by agencies saying that no currency was found. He had never said something like that. But allegations of a cover-up between the 14th and the 20th. KV Dhananjay, is there merit that there was an attempted cover-up or not to let the full information come out in public domain and facts came out only much later? Does that bring into doubt faith in higher judiciary? It's the higher judiciary that stands on trial today, sir.
This is an extraordinary event to start with. This country has never seen anything like this in its 75 years of independence. Having said that, this is also a kind of an existential crisis for the credibility of the higher judiciary. 2 days ago, after the news report, there certainly were some sections that were saying that this could be speculative and you will have to await for more information. And then the Supreme Court spoke about it. It said that this is again rumor. If the matter stood there over the next 3, 4, 5 days, probably the issue would have died down completely. But I think we'll have to thank the Collegium because the Collegium took this extraordinary step of coming out with a video and also a photograph of the event. I think that goes to show that they are in fact exhibiting higher standard of conduct. So it's important for us to acknowledge it because if not for the photograph, I think, and if also not for the detailed release put out by the Supreme Court itself, I do not know if we would have this level of certainty in this discussion at all. So while as much as, you need certainty to criticize a collegium,
yes,
that very certainty is also something some would praise the collegium for.
Okay.
Having said that, in this matter, you will see that from the communication that's been put out by the Supreme Court itself, the the Delhi High Court Chief Justice got to know about it at 4:50 p.m. on the 15th.
Yes.
And the communication from the Delhi High Court Chief Justice says that the debris, in fact, was removed on the morning of 15th.
Yes.
So, which means the damage was already done. Now, if you take the communication that has been put out by the Supreme Court as the only one, or rather a near full disclosure of the matter, notwithstanding the redaction, then you will see that probably the time when the Supreme Court Collegium, or for that matter, the Delhi High Court Chief Justice got to know about it, the damage was already done. So, and thereafter, you will see certain developments. So, I think it would be difficult to criticize the Collegium for not doing enough.
Okay.
That the damage has already been done. Perhaps before they initiate a criminal proceeding, they might have felt that it's important to have a due process, to speak to the judge concerned, to take his version.
Fair
and
enough.
then also to set up a committee. Now that the committee has been set up, what really matters is for the committee to expeditiously come out with its report.
So let's
maybe
take
in a
this
few
step by
days'
step.
time.
Let's take this step by step. Diljit Singh Ahluwalia, the video that has emerged in public domain courtesy the Collegium, does this then bring scope for registration of FIR and initiate a probe? Or as Mr. Dhananjay says, wait for the 3-judge Collegium panel to complete its probe and then proceed?
So I would say that the preliminary report of the in-house inquiry committee is very important before initiating any criminal proceeding, because there are more ramifications than one here. They are in the best position to see whether prima facie there is any offense which has been committed at the end of the inquiry. And if yes, there is a requirement of registration of FIR entrusting the CBI. That is the first part. Second point, which is important here, is that this incident is being touted by many to point out the flaws which are there in the collegium system, in the appointment of the judges. But we are forgetting one important thing, that this is the same collegium which has given many, many great judges.
Yes.
And this is the same collegium. You can't have the government of the day appoint the judges. Now, it seems to be taking that kind of a color that NJAC has been knocked off, and today we are in a situation wherein a judge has been caught with so much of currency. That is why the collegium system is bad, and a collegium system also came under a lot of pressure, I would say. Initially, they talked about the transfer. Subsequently, they denied that, well, the transfer was in the contemplation prior, and it is not as a result of this. And from the papers that we are seeing, the transfer was something which is a consequence of this particular event. What is the
No,
need
but
of
that
the...
also brings the thinking of the collegium system with due respect in question. If a judge is not fit to be a judge in Delhi High Court, why should he be a judge in the Allahabad High Court? And isn't the bar their right to ask, are we a dustbin? Dr. Vikram Singh, can anyone dare to enter the house of a sitting High Court justice protected by Jawans of the Foxtrot Company of the 70th Battalion of CRPF, except those authorized to do so? Is there then merit in the contention that the storeroom was open to all, anybody could have had access to it? The CRPF insists that it was under lock and key. Does that bring into doubt the statement made by Justice Verma or the CRPF?
Gauravji, you are more security conscious than I would ever be. You have seen Kashmir, you have seen the whole of security in the country. And yes, a person can think of venturing into the residence of an honorable judge. Unless he has suicidal tendencies, he would not even look that way. He will not even look that way. And the Foxtrot Company of the CRPS is armed with automatic and semi-automatic weapons. There is no question of anybody venturing into the house. And to say that, yes, anybody could have possible access to it, well, then nothing could be farther from truth or even more absurd than that. The fact of the matter is, if the storeroom belongs to me and I'm paying the rent to the government, I'm jolly well responsible for the contents, upkeep, and also the safety. And that is why the CRPF guard of the Foxtrot Company is there to ensure, sanitize, and safeguard the premises. And then to top it all, you'll see in times to come, there will be CCTV footages also. There will be also guest entry and exit entry registers also. There are so many things that will come ahead. And if there's a fair inquiry, there's a possibility of an approver also saying who came, who stayed, and who left.
if there is a fair inquiry. So there still is doubt. Diljit Singh Ahluwalia, there still is doubt whether we'll get to know the truth, because look at Justice Verma's response. It gives an impression that the storeroom was freely accessible to others, including, if I quote from the statement, from the back Vicargate entry. The police commissioner clearly told the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court that the storeroom is adjacent to the guard room and used to be kept locked.
So I think that seems to be a very preposterous kind of a hypothesis which has been advanced by him, because on 15th morning, whatever were the burnt remnants of the notes have been removed. And on 15th in the night, along with the registrar, he went to the room and they basically used the torchlight of the phones to see the thing. And he said, that where is anything? Now that can't be the basis. Of course, what is falling from the panel right now, that there is a requirement of an investigation, and once there is an investigation, all these facets are going to come out. But all these facets are also going to come out in the inquiry. Now that is one aspect. Now let me be the devil's advocate here for a second. There is something which is known as a presumption of innocence. That presumption of innocence does not die for a judge. I mean, I get a bad feel the way this entire incident is snowballing into an attack on the Collegium system, on the NJAC having been set aside by the Supreme Court. I mean, it is not too much to think if some interested quarters put two Boris along with notes there, and suddenly people know there are notes there. No, one second. People know that there are notes there, and then that is the one which is torched, and this entire thing can be statement. I am saying it is not something which is not impossible.
Okay.
It's a requirement of investigation, an independent investigation. The only source of me saying so is the fact that the Collegium is repeatedly coming under attack by some quarters. Everybody is trying to malign the entire judiciary. There are judges who are handling 500 matters a day. There are judges who are hearing final matters till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just because of one incident, every person has to be going into hiding. All the judges go into hiding.
Okay.
Even
Dr. Vikram Singh, you want to quickly respond? Dr. Vikram Singh, you want to quickly respond? That's a very pertinent point you raise. Dr. Vikram Singh also wants to respond, and Mr. K.V. Dhananjay also. Okay, Dr. Vikram Singh, please go first.
There cannot be two rule books. If a constable can be dismissed for disproportionate assets of 10,000 rupees or a possession of 200 rupees, I think the law applies to everyone. We hold the judiciary and the respected and the learned judges in the highest of esteem. All the more reason, as you said in your opening, the Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion. Nobody has a right, and that would include the person charged just now of any misdemeanor. And if there is any misdemeanor, that has to be thoroughly inquired. There is no question of anybody trying to bail him out, more so in the light of such weak and absurd defenses.
Okay. Mr. Dhananjay, your take on this. You've heard both Mr. Diljit Ahluwalia's contention. You've heard Dr. Vikram Singh. Also the question, a judge would know if currency, or the police should know that if currency is partially burnt on the 14th night, on 15th morning, where did it disappear? How did it disappear? Is that evidence in a case that just disappeared?
Eventually there should be an FIR in this case. There should be there should be a criminal investigation, and the criminal investigation will uncover the sequence of events and also what happened to the burnt money. When the fire police come into a residence to douse the fire, they don't have the authority to remove any material and then take it with them, because that would then amount to stealing. So they seem to have made a note of it and reported to different authorities, and eventually it must have reached the Delhi Police Commissioner, who then called up the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court to report it, I think, much later. That's at 4:50 p.m. on 15th, by which time the money had already disappeared. So it's extremely important to identify what happened to that money that these officers seem to have noticed. Now, while the judge in question, Justice Yashwant Verma, is of course entitled to presumption of innocence and is also entitled to all the defense that he has already taken, what the Supreme Court Collegium is doing is to simply make sure that before a criminal proceeding is initiated, which on the facts of this case I think are bound to be initiated, that there is a due diligence, and I think what these three judge member committee will simply do is to engage in the due diligence. But the due diligence by its very nature is not going to answer what happened to the money in question. And in the strange circumstances of this case, it would be difficult to think that the fire police had some kind of an obligation to take it with them or then to make an inventory of it and all that, because that's not how they operate. It would be impossible for them to perform their duties if every place where they go to douse fire, if they make inventory of every burnt item. So this, I think, would be a strange circumstance where the credibility of the judiciary is being tested. And the NJAC and then the Collegium, I think that debate is certainly for another day. Nobody, can seriously dispute that the Collegium's functioning in terms of appointment of judges is not satisfactory at all. It absolutely is not satisfactory. And I think this event is not really the time to discuss that. This event is a time to discuss on what steps can be done to make sure that there is a due investigation here. Because after the Collegium put out the evidence of photograph and the video, the defense put out by the judge, I think, will look really very weak. But that's not to say that just because there would be an investigation, that also means that there would be an extremely nice prospect of conviction, because this is a case of disproportionate wealth, and then money recovered is everything in the special facts of this case.
Yes.
It's like someone being charged with murder, but then nobody knows where the dead body is.
Yes.
Or for that matter, nobody can give credible evidence about the person being alive at some point of time. So investigation, of course, must happen. But unfortunately, I think due to these strange events, I'm not very sure if we are going to see a robust prosecution here in this case.
That's a very
public,
big point you're making, sir. Dr. Vikram Singh, do you also see it that way? Because where is the dead body, as anyone would ask in a murder case? Where is that evidence? Where has it disappeared from the 14th? Yes, there are some images, that are caught on camera. But where is that camera? Who was that constable? Is that footage still there? Has it been passed on multiple handsets? Does that weaken the link and chain of evidence, sir?
Learned Mr. Dhananjay has shed enough light on the entire incident and has balanced both the arguments pro and cons. It is very evenly balanced. Now, to say the manner in which the case has turned out to be, defense, contradiction, then going back again, and suddenly last night you have the release of the videos and all the evidence. And so, firstly, the chief fire officer says that there was no recovery. Then he says there was. The third version is that no, he was misquoted. Then there was no allegation against the honorable judge. Then he said he was transferred was routine. Then suddenly he said that the release of the evidence of the video evidence in any respect of any circumstantial evidence will have to wade through forensics, ballistics, and IT experts. In this case, the video will obviously have to be weighed, evaluated. It is a serious matter, a sensitive matter. Therefore, the policing and investigation of the investigators will see to it that the best international practices of forensics are put into practice and ensured that the video is undoctored, the voice is matched. And the voice is matched. Let me tell you, the first task is who said Gandhi ji jal gaye, Mahatma Gandhi jal gaye. And it is perfectly doable. Where there is a will, there is a way. In 24 hours, you can say. Then there are multiple flaws in the investigation procedure. Inventory memo, teaser memo, if the currency notes were burnt, why was not it displayed in the well spread out and disclosed recovery memo that was displayed to everyone? I'm sure you must also be having that copy. That is the flaw. If it was collusion or complicity, then again it is punishable. Destruction of evidence is also a crime. A fresh case has to be registered. Therefore, there are multiple dimensions. But I can show you the overwhelming and incontrovertible evidence is there. If where there is a will, you can reach to the conclusion in a record time of maybe in about 15 working days.
And Mr. Ahluwalia, nobody questions the integrity of our learned judges, the fact that the entire nation has so much faith in them. If there is a black sheep, then that black sheep must be weeded out from the system in a very transparent manner by themselves so that there is accountability. So, because they're working hard and because they're working so well, nobody should ask questions also cannot be an argument, can it, sir?
Nobody is saying that the questions cannot be asked. You are absolutely right. The Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion. But Caesar's wife is also entitled to due process.
Yes.
Caesar's wife cannot be condemned unheard. There is a procedure which has been contemplated. And the Honorable Chief Justice of India has initiated an in-house inquiry, not as an arbitrary procedure. He is bound by the law declared by the Supreme Court in 2014, that in such instances, there has to be an in-house inquiry. The inquiry will give an opportunity of hearing to the delinquent judge They will see the material. Thereafter, they will make a recommendation to the Chief Justice of India. Now, here, interesting point is that everybody up the hierarchy of the police knows that there were notes there. Notes were burning. They take videos and thereafter they don't seal that room. They don't seal those stacks. They just go away from there. And next morning, these stacks go missing. And now we are saying, well, it seems that the judge is the one who has destroyed the evidence also. What was the investigative agency doing there? Why did they leave it unattended?
Dr. Vikram Singh, is that a fair point that the moment information was known about cash burning, and the police had reached there, should they have done something?
Gauravji, I think I said in my opening remarks also that there are multiple flaws in the procedure itself. In the preparation of the recovery memo, if the currency notes were there, even if they were burned, there should have been proper videography and preparation of a recovery memo. That is the flaw. But that, again, a fresh case of investigation, a case can be registered for destruction of evidence and compromising the evidence. That does not vitiate the entire process of investigating the larger picture. Therefore, one part is destruction and compromise. And you would understand very well what are the causes and motive of compromising the evidence. Obviously, it's no fairy whispered into the ears of the lower functionaries of the police department, and there's so much of pressure. The consequences and the results and the consequences are in front of all of us. Flip-flop, statement changing every 48 hours, and then recoveries being made but not disclosed. Disclosed when the chips were down. I mean, obviously you would understand under what circumstances. Initially, there was no disclosure of it. Then suddenly information being disclosed in a fast-forward mode. Therefore, everybody understands what are the dynamics of concealment and what
was happening between 15th and the 20th. Mr. Dhananjay, the video sent by Delhi Police Commissioner to the Chief Justice clearly shows that burning stash. Isn't the onus now on Justice Verma to explain how the cash was in his storeroom in a protected house? After all, it's a house that's protected by the CRPF and not a railway platform where anybody could have come and gone?
Well, that calls into question presumption. Now, the Prevention of Corruption Act does not carry that presumption at all. The Money Laundering Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act carries that presumption. Money laundering may not be attracted here because the money apparently is not converted into anything. Apparently, it seems to have been destroyed. So, Money Laundering Act is not invoked here. I think the judge has taken all the defense that he would even.
Okay.
On the night of 14th at around 11:30 p.m. when there was this fire, he was not in station and he was away with his wife in Madhya Pradesh. And he returned on the evening of 15th. And the communication put out by the Supreme Court shows that somebody removed the debris on the morning of 15th. So when people discovered this notes, the judge was not in the house. And when the debris was removed from the house, the judge was not in the house. So that makes it a very, very difficult case for conviction. It probably is a great case for investigation, but I think the investigation has to begin ASAP. And it's important for the committee that has been appointed by the Collegium to come out with its report ASAP, because the public is watching it, and then we cannot really, preserve the public confidence if even in a case like this where photographs have come out. Now, there's a reason why the photo will stick in the mind of the public for a very long time. Yes. It's a case of money, real money being burned in a country where money is, of course, worshipped as Lakshmi. So this image is going to remain in the mind of the people, and therefore it's in everyone's best interest that the Collegium, initiates criminal prosecution as soon as possible. And what is being done, of course, is mandatory, is required under the law.
Okay.
But again, time is of essence here, because all said and done, it's important to notice that when
time is of essence, you say. Dr. Vikram Singh, closing comments. Delhi police are seeking CDR and IPDR of Justice Verma. Is it just him, or all those who live or work under that roof? The guest register, is that likely to shed any light, or is this just going through motions of an investigation?
Gauravji, this would be an important part of any investigation plan, to understand, analyze the CDRs, messages received, messages sent, and also the most frequently called numbers and the most frequently received numbers, and not that of the honorable accused, but also of everybody in the family, all the domestic helps and the drivers. And if at all there is a suspicious number which was used by the honorable judge, that also will have to be scrutinized in the same manner as if it belonged to me. I belong to, suppose I am the charge, then if I'm using a particular number not registered in my name, but belongs to somebody who's my own confidant, a man of whom I trust, then that also. Then if I have installed fresh apps that have a certain degree of being absolutely confidential and secret, like I would not like to name the apps for, giving wrong ideas to youngsters.
Yes.
Yours is a very popular channel. But if I have 4 or 5 such apps installed that are known as rogue apps, then that also requires a lot of explanation and investigation. These are essential parts of any investigation.
Okay, and that is why the Honorable Justice has also been requested not to delete any data from his mobile phone. Does that extend to others who were under that roof? We will track that story very closely. The last 30 seconds that I have, Mr. Ahluwalia, can I just ask you, does this not then bring into question the issue you had also raised, whether it's judicial accountability, whether it's transparency, promotions, postings, elevations? How can that be insulated, one, from external pressure and yet remain above suspicion?
So we already, right now in the judiciary, have robust systems, although these are not free from faults, but these are robust in their own right. Judges are being selected. There's a lot of criticism with regard to selection of the judges. There's a lot of criticism with regard to uncle syndrome and all that. Well, I think this opportunity is being misused by a lot of people to attack the judiciary,
Okay,
to attack the Collegium, which is working perfectly fine. There might be aberrations. This is a test. This is one such test where I think the Collegium has come out with flying colors. I think this is too much of a transparency wherein they have released everything to the
Okay.
media, everything, including the letters written by the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court.
portions
including
redacted, portions
every-
redacted.
Portions redacted only with regard to the names.
Okay.
You don't know the names as personal secretary. You don't require to know who the personal secretary is. But this much of transparency, I don't know whether it is in the right interest of the accused and the system. But all right, that's a very, very bold step taken by the Collegium.
Okay.
I don't think those detractors of the Collegium system should use this opportunity to attack the Collegium, attack the system. My heart really bleeds, absolutely bleeds for the judges whose prestige, I think, is on the line here. Like I told you, there
And
are
perhaps
judges.
that is why they need to ensure that there is transparent investigation and accountability fixed as quickly as possible. We'll be tracking that story very, very closely. Mr. Dhananjay, Mr. Ahluwalia and Dr. Vikram Singh, as always, for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks.